All right, I think we'll call this meeting to order, the HHS meeting of 4/1/2021. Mike, do you want to call the roll?
Yep, I'll start with Chair Brown.
Don Brown, voting remotely from Mount Clemens, Michigan, Macomb County.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Zinner.
Commissioner Zinner, voting remotely from Harrison Township, Macomb County, Michigan.
Thank you. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Kleinfeld for voting remotely from East Point, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Romano. Commissioner Kraft.
Commissioner Kraft attending remotely from Chesterfield Township, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Haw.
Commissioner Haw attending remotely Roseville, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Wallace.
Commissioner Wallace attending remotely from Mount Clemens, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Song.
Commissioner Song attending remotely from Warren, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Commissioner Van Sickle attending remotely Sterling Heights, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Matuzik.
Commissioner Matuzik attending remotely Clinton Township, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Commissioner Sabatini attending remotely from Macomb Township, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Farrington.
Commissioner Farrington attending remotely from Utica, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Nard.
Commissioner Nard attending remotely from Warren, Macomb County, Michigan.
Thank you. And that completes the roll.
All right, we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Matuzik moves.
Van Sickle second.
Is there any discussion? No? All right. Voting?
Aye.
All votes aye.
That motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. We'll go to approval of the minutes. We have a motion.
Sabatini moves.
Support.
Is there any discussion? We'll go to a vote.
Aye.
All votes aye.
That motion passes 12-0.
Thank you. We'll go to public participation. Do we have anyone waiting at all anywhere?
Chair, we don't show anybody requesting to speak in our chat box. If anybody is on the phone wishing to speak, you can press *6 to unmute yourself.
All right, I'll make this brief announcement. Any members wishing to speak, you have 5 minutes to speak on anything on the agenda. If anyone wishes to speak, please do so now. If anyone wishes to speak, please let us know now. Nobody? All right, we will now go to presentations. Now we have MSU Extension 2021 Gypsy Moth, Terry Gibb, Senior Educator, and Ed Scott, District Director of MSU Extension. Motion to receive and file.
So moved by Farrington.
Support Kleinfeld.
Support.
All right. I believe Terry's going first, or who's going first?
I am.
Okay, all right. Edward,
Just,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners, for taking the time to listen to us this morning. I'm going to be very brief because Terry is actually the expert that you all need to hear from. But I just wanted to give her a quick introduction. Terry is one of our senior extension educators in natural resources in government and public policy. And she's going to spend a few minutes today talking to you all about the ongoing gypsy moth infestation and the efforts that MSU Extension is partnering with the county to undertake in order to help address that. So Terry, please take it away if you're ready.
Okay, I am. Can you hear me okay, everybody? Yes? Okay. I've been with Extension for almost 30 years now, or no, almost 31. And I have been administering the Gypsy Moth program for the county for like 28 of those 30 years. So, and I'm thinking there's only 2 commissioners still around that were on the commission way back when we started this program. So I'm going to do a real brief run through on what it is, why we do it, what we do. So basically, the gypsy moth is a foreign pest with few native predators to keep the populations in check. That's an important point because that's why one of the reasons why we do the program. It was first found in Michigan in 1954 and we started having outbreaks in the Lower Peninsula in the mid-'80s. We have had a program in Macomb County since 1992. What happens is the caterpillars feed on tree leaves in late spring, preferring those of oak, aspen, poplar, and birch, and all the really popular trees that everybody loves, but they will feed on over 500 different plants and trees, including evergreens. And unfortunately with evergreens, if they get defoliated, they don't come back. They tend to die. Caterpillars in large numbers, along with their waste, which is called frass, are a nuisance in residential areas. Now, just be clear, gypsy moth cannot be eradicated, but they can be suppressed to tolerable levels. And that's part of the reason for the program. So we have 4 goals for the program: to reduce infestations to tolerable levels. Second, to preserve tree foliage and reduce tree stress. Next is to prevent indiscriminate use of control chemicals all over the place by everybody. And finally, to provide educational information so people understand what this pest can do. Gypsy moth caterpillars do not cause premature leaf drop, browning, or curling of leaves. They do not make webs or tents in the trees. What they do is they cause damage to the tree. And if the populations are really high enough, they become a real nuisance and a concern for our residents. The frass can drop down onto driveways, houses, patios, furniture, cars, and if it gets wet, it can stain all of those things. The hairs on the caterpillars, if you've never seen a gypsy moth caterpillar, they're very ugly. They have these big long hairs on them. And the hairs on the caterpillars can cause irritation or even allergic reactions to some people if it gets on the skin. Tree defoliation by the caterpillar is another big issue with this pest and can have real significant impacts to our communities and to property values and the tree health in general. If a tree is defoliated by gypsy moth more than 40%, that's an important number to remember, 40%, the tree then becomes stressed. But what it does, it uses its winter reserves to re-leaf that same season. And that stresses the tree out. And what it does, it allows predators, critters, diseases to then get into the tree. So gypsy moth does not directly kill trees. What it does, it weakens the tree to the point that other predators can then attack the tree. And that's what kills it. Now, last year, after every spray, we do a visual defoliation survey in the spray blocks. And what we found last year is that we had less than 10% defoliation in the spray blocks. Now remember the 40% threshold, so we were well below that. So we were very happy with that. Now, what do we use? What we use is a product called Bacillus thuringiensis, also known as BT. This has been used for gypsy moth control throughout the United States since 1961 and in Michigan since 1985. It is a naturally occurring bacterium found in soil. I'll ask this question. I ask when I talk to communities, if when you were a kid, did you even on accident or on purpose ever eat dirt? If you did, then you ingested BT. It is naturally occurring in there. This BT specifically targets only caterpillars of a certain size. It is applied to the tree leaves via airplane when they are young, usually in mid to late May, to ensure the greatest impact in reducing the numbers. If the caterpillars are too small when it's applied, they don't ingest it because they're not eating enough. And if it's too late, like beyond the 4th instar of their growth, then it doesn't impact them, because how the BT works is they ingest it and it kills the caterpillar from the inside out. All right. So we have to get it at just the optimum time. BT will not harm humans, pets, birds, fish, butterflies, plants, beneficial insects, or even other moths. So in addition to the aerial spray, MSU Extension also recommends other alternative mechanical techniques that we talk to residents and communities about, such as egg mass scraping, which is done now, or tree banding, which happens after the egg masses actually hatch to help keep populations down. As you can see from the map that we provided, here in Macomb County, we typically have hot spots of gypsy moth rather than huge acres and acres and acres of area to be sprayed as they do in the northern counties. This year, the program is a little bit unique in that all of our areas that we first identified as needing to be surveyed were because we got calls from residents that they were seeing them and had an issue. We always ask a few questions to make sure that they're not, getting tent caterpillars or something else confused. So we did that. And besides resident contacts, we also surveyed based on areas that we have sprayed previously that have had major infestations. Currently, we've got 21 spray blocks in 9 communities and in 2 HCMA parks, over 1,650 acres total. That is more than we have ever had since the start of the program in 1992. The information I sent you probably says it was 21 spray blocks in 10 communities with nearly 1,900 acres. Well, since we sent that information over to you, Washington Township voted not to participate in the program, which threw out almost 300 acres. And at the same time, Shelby Township added another spray block within their areas. So in the 24-mile and DeQuinder area. So that's kind of a quick overview. Now, how the program works. The county covers all the administration costs. And what that is that surveying to determine infestation and qualifying acres. That is map creation by county planning, and that gives us the exact acres that the communities will be charged for, as well as that is the maps that the applicator will use to identify where he's going to spray. We also handle all the resident notification, which is a mailed letter to each resident within every spray block. Pre-spray monitoring for hatch and development. So once we start watching, we'll start watching probably in another, this is April 1st, probably in another 2 weeks, we'll start getting out there and we'll be monitoring hatch. Once we see hatch on the egg masses, then we'll be monitoring every day to make sure that we hit the optimum size. In addition, I should mention, in addition to size, weather also plays an important part on when we spray. It has to be a certain temperature, humidity has to be, obviously wind speed has to be as low as possible, which is why we spray at dawn. Usually the humidity is right, wind is usually very low, so we don't get drift. I mean, we want to spray where we want to spray. We don't want to spray here and have it end up over there. That doesn't do anybody any good. Spray day, we are actually out in the spray blocks monitoring to make sure that it's a consistent coverage. And then the post-spray activities include the visual defoliation survey as well as a resident perception survey. Now, that's what the county does. The community, they each pay their own spray costs. So we determine how many acres each community has. And just to give you off the top of my head, Bruce Township, I think, has 73 acres. So they will be paying the per acre cost times 73. Each community and authority will have a separate contract with the applicator. And I work with the communities and the applicator to make sure that the contracts are correct and they get signed and they get back in a timely manner. Also, because we're in a congested airspace, because we have 3 airfields around us, Selfridge, Detroit City Airport, and Metropolitan Airport, we are required, the applicator is required to have an FAA congested air permit to be able to fly. So we have already gotten back all of the permissions from all the communities in HCMA, and those have gone in, and he is currently, he got the application going to get into FAA because we're not sure how long that's going to take. In addition, as far as education, we held a Gypsy Moth in your neighborhood webinar back in February to educate residents about Gypsy Moth, BT, and the spray program in general. We had over 240 people from around the state participate in that webinar. And then we took the link and we put it on our page and also the county's Gypsy Moth webpage that we monitor. And then we sent that link out to all of the communities to be able to, for them to get it on their social platforms as well. And finally, last year I developed a 3-page, everything you wanted to know about Gypsy Moth, but didn't even know you knew, you know, type of thing. Because we did not spray from 2009 to 2019. And so when 2019 came, we just jumped into what we always do using the MDARD protocols and did the program. And did not even occur to us the social media explosion that occurred between 2009 and 2019. And we were just amazed. To give you an example, because of that, and because of everybody with, you know, instant messaging and phone cameras and everything, we had more calls on spray day because we have someone in the office on spray day in case we get any calls with questions. We had more calls on spray day in 2019 than we had in total between 1992 and 2009. It was just unbelievable. I mean, she was in there for 3 hours answering calls. It was just that bad. So we learned from that. And now we're doing a better job of making sure people know what's going on and are better prepared. So anyway, that's pretty much an overview, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Terry, that was a very concise report. Thank you very much. I know I looked that up myself, and it was very interesting, and I guess we have to keep on top of things. I don't see any speakers here, but maybe that's because you had everything very concise for us. Yeah. Oh,
I will
Don,
say,
Don Brown
Madam
has
Chairwoman.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't see
This is
Don
Commissioner
yet.
Brown.
Yes. Go right ahead.
The reason for this program was at a time when this wasn't being attended to, it caused a great mess in many communities throughout the county. And it was a result of public input coming to the Board of Commissioners to ask what can be done about this. It was causing a mess for many levels, for many reasons. And so the board found a way to afford to deal with this in an effective way. And it's been going on for some years. And I'm proud to say I was one that initiated, because my committee was heavily infected, as well as communities in the South End where you are, commissioners in the South End. So anyway, it's a good program. Thank you for doing it. It's the mundane things of government, but it keeps neighborhoods clear and keeps our phone lines open for other people to call and complain about other things that they need. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. And have a great weekend.
Thank you.
That motion passes. Just wait, one more vote. That motion passes unanimously.
We're going to go now to Macomb County Action. Ernest Colvey, we need to forward to full board. Can we get a vote on that? Oh, no, we're not voting yet. I'm sorry. Full vote, forward to full board. And
Move to receive and file, Matusik.
Second, Nard.
This is supposed to go to forward to full board, I believe.
Whatever the motion is, I make it.
Thank you. Ernest.
I'm sorry, commissioners. There was an issue on the agenda today. You might have to revote. This is not a presentation. This needs to be a departmental recommendation.
Well, I think that Don thought you wanted to talk about. Do you want to go right into the buses now?
I'm happy to go into any of the department recommendations.
Right.
But I point out that the presentation B, we need a vote on that. The 2021 action plan, it's listed here as a presentation. It should have been listed under department recommendations.
Yes, Chair. Ernest, the motion is to send to full board. It's not a receive and file.
That's great. Thank you so much.
So are we voting on that now? Crystal? Adriana?
I think he does want to speak to it.
Oh, yes, I am happy to speak
now,
to it.
we will vote on it after.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was a recommendation.
Yes.
As you look through the action plan, you'll see that we do a whole lot. Two things just to orient you to the document itself. The first is that Macomb Community Action manages the non-entitlement communities in Macomb County. And there are 5 entitlement communities that receive their own community development block grant funding. So Warren, Sterling Heights, St. Clair Shores, Roseville, and Clinton Township, those are the 5 entitlement communities, although they often do use their own CDBG funding to support some services we provide in their communities. But in general, this covers the communities not part of those 5 entitlement communities. You will see on page 3 and 7 of the report, we have some summaries there. The whole report that we gave you today included in an executive summary section. And I'm glad to answer any questions you may have on that. Just a couple points of overview. We do a range of programs through this. We do everything from a minor home repair program to our homeless supports program and our emergency solution grant funding. We also have on page 9 a list of our local services for public services. Every local municipality has input on public services they would like to fund within their community outside of the standard CDBG work they do. So this includes a range of funding, a range of programs. Each of your communities likely benefits from several of them. So I just wanted to point out the breadth of this. And I think the plan does a great job. And our program manager, Stephanie Burgess, is on the line as well, who helped develop the executive summary here. Glad to take any questions you have. Just wanted to let you know how broad the services are that we provide through this.
I have talked to citizens that have worked in different areas of the county, knowing just personally that there is a broad range, and it's different areas of the top and bottom of the county. That is true. I know that. I'm sorry, Commissioner Matusik?
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner. I think you were muted.
Julie? Julie, can't hear you. There you go.
I know. This whole muting thing. I'll be so happy when we're done. After everybody gets shots. Not too soon. It's great to see you again. The director gave us a wonderful tour, Barb and I, a wonderful tour of the facilities and the programs, and it was very enlightening. This is sort of I don't know if this is the right place to ask the question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and you can tell me if it's not. We have been using a fair amount of the COVID money for our homeless population, putting them up in hotels and motels and things. And that seems to me really important in order to keep our folks safe, everybody safe. How long do we anticipate that going? And is that part of this? Has it been integrated into the regular program, or is it sort of a separate off to the side?
Yeah, there are a couple elements at play there. The first is that The housing expansion that we've done for the warming center was a discrete component of our shelter program during the winter. So usually a range of organizations around the county, oftentimes churches, participate in the warming center program.
Right.
That's a diversion program. Due to COVID, most of them did not want to participate due to concerns of health and safety. So we had housed a couple hundred residents in the hotels as an alternative to the usual warming center. So as you can see, we did have a little bit of an April Fool's Day joke played by Mother Nature today, but it is getting into April, and this is the end of the warming center season. So the warming center component of that housing expansion is terminating soon as the winter is ending. But that location that was used for the expansion is managed by McCrest, and they often have 60 to 80 families in it. It was unusual for us to have 200 to 300 people in it, but that was the nature of that being an expansion for the warming center specifically. So with funding, you'll see that we're both looking at the Emergency Solutions Grant, which provides for rapid rehousing, and we do support both McCrest and Turning Point through that for shelter operations. We also are working with Community Housing Network to invest in affordable housing, because oftentimes we find that lack of affordable housing prevents us from successfully utilizing the rapid rehousing services that we have. So there are a couple moving parts at play here to make sure that we continue to support people. One of the unintended dynamics this year is due to eviction diversion, we have less available affordable housing stock than we do normally. So that's prolonging the period that people might be in temporary shelter before we can find them permanent housing. So there are a range of elements at play here. We are involved in some strategic planning with all of them, addressing both the short-term response to crisis and the long-term solution to larger capacity for affordable housing.
Do we anticipate another wave of crisis as the eviction moratorium goes away? I mean, folks are in apartments that at one point they could afford and have stayed there, well, in many cases, not being able to pay rent. And the minute the rental moratorium goes away, I worry that a lot of folks are going to be out of their apartments.
Fortunately, you will see at full board this month, I hope, that we are working to structure a program known as the Coronavirus Emergency Rental Assistance Program. The Emergency Rental Assistance Program provides Macomb County with a range of additional support to pay off rental arrearages, to cover utility arrearages, and to prospectively pay 3 months in advance to help people stabilize and stay in that home. So yes, we are diligently planning and preparing for a new large and expanded rental assistance program across Macomb County, and we're just finalizing some of those plans with MISTA and other partners through the Department of Treasury, and that will happen before we see the end of the eviction moratorium.
That's great. Glad to hear that. Look forward to seeing the details. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see anybody else that has a question. So I guess we will vote at this time.
That motion passes unanimously.
Ernest, now we're going to be talking, now we're going to department recommendations, and we're talking about the purchase of Best Bus Sale, 2 Ford Super Duty vehicles. Well, before Ernest, we're going to, this is forwarded to full board.
Moved by Kleinfeld.
Support by Matusik.
Thank you. What would do you want to speak about these?
Yeah, this is a really exciting one. You know, you've seen in general what turmoil our school-aged children and our families have been in during all of these closures and remote education. It's really an untenable situation, and it has affected our Head Start families significantly. If you have an older child, it may be feasible for them to participate in remote learning without a parent at home. When you're a young child, you can't do it. And, it is often very disruptive to the family to have remote learning when you have both parents working during the day. It's created a lot of crises. And in looking forward prospectively, it's important for you to know that our Head Start team is one of the best in the state, if not the country. We receive national recognition. We are innovating for the families of Macomb County. We won a national award for social innovation, focusing on trauma. We just used some of the COVID funding to enhance our mental health supports for both the children and the families. And we really do seek excellence in all of our Head Start programs. And this is one of the components in where we're seeking it. These are going to be for some mobile classrooms. We're going to create 2 mobile classroom units to engage the communities and the families to be out there proactively doing outreach and providing new engagement opportunities. And we're going to be excited to share with you when they're fully constructed and we have the programming in place. But that's the purpose of these, is to make sure that we are flexible and responsive to any disruptions in-person learning that may occur, and that we can be really proactive and innovative in doing new things for our families and our children.
Barb, you're muted.
Commissioner Song, please.
Thank you, Chair. In earnest, I just want to echo what you said, because I have 4 very young children, 2, 4, 6, and 8, and I understand the struggles with my children having to learn remotely, learning how to mute and unmute, and we're adults, and sometimes we even forget how to do that. So I give my kids so much credit. I'm so proud of them, but it has taken a toll on us because we do both work as well. And thankfully I can work from home. And so I have that ability, but I know a lot of families don't. So I can't imagine what others are going through. I'm excited for this program too, but my question is, how many families will these 2 buses serve? And will you be coming in my neighborhood anytime soon?
Yeah, these are strictly dedicated to the Head Start program. So we have 1,000 children enrolled in our Head Start program. We look to expand it anytime we can. We've certainly put in for expansion. Right now, we are at those 1,000 children in classrooms across the county. So I can tell you that depending on how these go, we may be seeking more, but this will be supplemental and complementary program. Nothing can replace the in-person, in-classroom services that we provide children and families. We'll have to see how this goes, and I'll certainly let you know the schedule for the mobile classrooms to be out there in the community.
Thank you, Ernest. Now, these 1,000 families, are they, they're income-based, right, to qualify for the Head Start?
There's a range of priority scores. I'd be happy to share the sheet with you. We also take into account special needs children. Important. It's a core mission of Head Start to make sure that every child has a chance to succeed. We have a large priority matrix for our applications. Everybody is taken into account based upon that priority score. So whether it's income based or based upon special needs and disability, it is all based around that.
All right, thank you, and thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Farrington.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, Commissioner Song hit on one of the comments I was making. I love the innovative approach to try to handle a problem that's hitting the county and the country and the world right now. I'm interested to see how the 2 vehicles really can handle the load. The other question I had reading through the documents is the licensing. There seems to be questions surrounding if it can be something that is a lot of feedback. Truly licensable. So I'm just wondering if you can hit on. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a little muffled. Let me know if you can hear me all right. But I think I caught the question about licensure. There are a couple of things going on there, and we can wait to see how it plays out. Depending on the fixtures and facilities you have on the vehicle itself, it can be operable for different purposes. Many Head Start programs, in fact, use something like the smart connector. If you've seen those smart connectors, those sort of smaller vans to transport children. In Michigan, that is not allowed by law. By law in Michigan, for whatever reason, I think it's outdated, but they require you to use a school bus that requires a commercial driver's license to have any children on the vehicle. And so part of the licensure consideration is also how would we be using it? Because of Michigan state law, we may not be able to use it as they use it in other Head Start programs in other states. So I think part of the operation of the vehicle will determine the necessary and appropriate licensure. So we are working to make sure that we stay within those guidelines and regulations.
As a follow-up to that, so what if the licensure isn't there? And you're right, there's different layers, whether it be the driver or the educational side. I thought, what is plan B if we don't have the proper licensing for these vehicles that we're spending all this money on?
Yeah, I think we would be adaptive and flexible to make sure that the programming was sufficient for its licensure. We may not be able to do all we wanted to do in the vehicle, but the vehicle still will be out there on the road in the communities, providing some extracurricular activities. We'll just have to see if we can do all we want depending on the licensure. But we'll certainly update you as we finalize the plan and put it into action in our communities.
Thank you, Ernest. Appreciate it, Madam Chairman.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Ernest. Getting back to something that Commissioner Zong touched on, how many children will each of these vehicles be able to service in one day? Do you go and park one place and the children show up for all day, or is there 2 half-day sessions, or how's that seen as happening?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I appreciate so much interest in this. I think Head Start's one of the best kept secrets in Macomb County, and it really is so much more than education. It's really a transformative experience for the children and the families. And I can't quite answer that question yet because it will depend upon how we schedule to supplement it. Obviously, our hope is that we have in-person classroom instruction going on, and we use these to supplement. It's not our intention to replace either virtual or in-person classroom instruction with these, but this would be complementary programming. So it's not intended that they would go around and see 100 families in a day for a short education session. We would either do virtual or in person, and in addition to that, we would do a supplemental activity through those. And as far as the part day and full day, it's a great point, and it's important to remember, we strive to have full day classrooms. We believe it's the most transformative experience. However, to get a full day classroom, we have to give up 2 part day classrooms. It's what they call unstacking the classroom. So we might have a morning and an afternoon session, and to get 1 full day session, we have to combine those, which means we can only serve half as many students. And so you will see our numbers, but it's our strong goal that we want to unstack all of our part day classrooms into full day. Of course, that means we will be serving less children overall. But we do it because we know that the full day session is so important. It is extra impactful. And it's a burden on families with young children to have them only come for a few hours and then back home. So as far as how many in part day, full day, we do have a range of half day classrooms currently, but the chance we get, we're working to unstack those to be a full day classroom, but that does impact the number of children we're able to serve.
So I'm still a little confused. Will each bus serve one family at a time, or will it serve a group of families for 10 or 12, or how many kids?
Yeah, I think it will be both and. These vans can be used for a range of supplemental programming, both for extracurriculars outside or after they may have completed their school day, as well as individual instruction. The plan for these is really to see what the need is as we go through both in-person and virtual. We're not in control fully of when we have to go to virtual. A school district just closed. Some school districts allow us to use their building when they close due to COVID. Some require us to vacate the building when they go to COVID. So we're really the operations of the MISD and school districts that we're in. If the school district we're in keeps open, we're going to stay in there and provide in-person instruction. If we're not allowed to be in the building and have to to virtual, then we may deploy the van in a variety of different ways. So it really is contingent upon COVID, how we'll use it.
So from what you just said, you don't know what the need is currently. So if you don't know what the need is, how do you know that 2 vehicles are going to even make a scratch in that, or maybe 1 vehicle would do it?
Yeah.
Why haven't we evaluated the need before we ask for the solution?
We know that the need is great, and this doesn't begin to approach it. This is simply a start for us to use allowable funding that had extra flexibilities contingent upon the COVID allowances in our Head Start grant, and we're using that flexibility to explore an innovation and test it out.
And these funds are only for the 2 buses. They're not for the staff to operate them and to do the work.
Yeah, we would use our existing staff to support that program.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Thank you. Ernest, I'm the one that made the motion to forward it to full board. Commissioner Van Sickle has asked you the same question twice, and you've spent a significant amount of time talking, but didn't answer the question either time. This is a lot of money, and if there isn't an answer to the question, you probably won't get my vote. I'm just putting it out there. The question is, how many families, let's go on a daily basis, do you believe will have use of these vehicles? And I don't need a 20-minute answer for a very simple question. I don't need an explanation about something else that has nothing to do with it. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I listened to him very politely ask twice, and the answer never came.
Thank you, Commissioner, for pointing that out. 6 to 8.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Matusik?
I think it's these mobile school classrooms are great, and I think they'll offer a good supplemental experience for some of the families. I do have a little bit of a gentle criticism in that, once again, we have a contract before us that was not bid out. Now, I understand. I've worked in a small transportation company and tried to purchase these vehicles. There are very few places to get these vehicles and to get the modifications required. I understand that. And you did notice in your note in your proposal that you called around and no one else was interested in doing the work. I do think there is value to the formal bidding process in terms of making sure we are getting all of the attention of all of the different kinds of firms, including minority-owned firms and others, to have an opportunity for these contracts. Again, it is a gentle criticism. I understand how difficult it is to find these kinds of buses and or the modification work. But I would really like to see a formal contract bid process for other things that you bring forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We do appreciate that. We always work with purchasing to make sure we're following all proper bid protocols. It's not just the procurement of the vehicle, but the retrofitting and the scarce range of people offering that. But I certainly agree with you that we want to make sure that the county bid process is available to any potential builder. Sometimes when time is of the essence, it is hard to do that. But this is not our decision alone. We work with the county and their purchasing department to authorize all bids and purchases.
Commissioner Wallace?
Thank you, Chair. My first question was answered about the bidding. So thank you, Commissioner Matusek, for that. Secondly, I just wanted to say that, the Head Start program is awesome. I have tenants that have multiple children in the program, and the improvement that they have seen in their kids has been pretty remarkable. So great job to the staff there. And I do believe that the having these buses, the mobile units, whether they're for one-on-one or extracurricular activity, would be awesome, because the kids love being there. Sometimes it's a struggle at home. So being at the school, even at a young age, is such a benefit. So great job. I can't wait to see how it turns out, and hopefully when all this is over, be able to visit.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Ernest, did you say that we're not allowed to bus children that are in Head Start?
No, I was trying to talk about the licensure requirements for vehicles over 24,000 pounds, which would require a CDL, is a requirement for busing, not vans.
It would seem that 247,000 would go a long way to run a lot of buses to bring the children to the school. I'm all for doing Head Start, but I'm just looking to spend the money in the most judicious way. And maybe we could service even more people if we brought them together.
I think it's a great point, and we'll always look to reduce barriers to access for our programming. We do help work to address transportation issues with families. This grant isn't about transportation to get to the school. This is about additional and supplemental programming beyond the normal classrooms. And again, Commissioner, I was not trying to equivocate on the answer that Commissioner Kleinfeld brought up about 6 to 8 children at a time. The point I was trying to illuminate is that there's not one type of programming operated by these buses. I can tell you 6 to 8, and that's the number of kids that could be engaged at one time, but there are a range of services that these vehicles could provide, which is why it's not as straightforward. So these buses aren't to get kids to our classrooms. We help kids make sure they make it to our classrooms. This will provide us a range of opportunities to do new and flexible programming in the community. But I certainly agree with you, to the extent that transportation is a barrier to get kids to our classrooms, we'll certainly work to make sure that that is not a barrier for them to access it.
So do you foresee 6 or 8 children being helped in the morning and a different 6 to 8 being helped in the afternoon? And then, so there'd be every one of the 5 work weekdays, or so there'd be like 10 groups of 6 or 8 children?
Yeah, I think that's right. Although, again, part of this will be determined by the flexible program that we develop to support these diverse needs of children and the basis of school closures. If we have a building closed in the south and a building closed in the north, there may be different logistics we have to work out on any given day. But assuming that we have all classrooms back open, we're doing all programming, there's still a role for these mobile classrooms outside of just supplemental programming due to virtual instruction and COVID school closures. And that's what I was trying to illustrate, is these buses can be used for a range of supplemental programming, evening or weekend programming. It's not just when a school goes down that we're going to send the van out to replace a virtual instruction. And it's really making sure that we go beyond COVID, beyond the children excluded due to medical reasons, or any different ways that we can make sure to serve those children that can't be present in the classrooms.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Ernest, if you looked at utilizing smart services that provide the services and access to get our students who are in a pinch or need a special ride there, because they've got unique programs designed for employers to pick up their employees and take them to the job sites. They're even working very close with the county right now with our senior population, those people that need transportation to vaccination centers, very accommodating. They're willing to work with the county very much is in return for the support this county gives them every so often for their millage. And they're very accommodating. Have you looked towards them to see partnering with them perhaps to help expand? Because two vans are good, and I definitely support, you need utility vans to take care of needs that come up and make sure we take care of as many people as we can. And those 2 buses probably aren't going to be enough to take care of the special needs that will come up with your program, given how many people are involved. So
Yes, thanks,
that.
Commissioner
So that's where my
Brown.
thoughts are going to.
It is a great point, and we do partner strongly with SMART. You may know that Macomb Community Action operates some of the SMART Connector buses. We do utilize them for essential medical transportation and a variety of partnerships. In fact, we just secured some additional funding from SMART to expand our partnership with them. So certainly are a strong partner. We appreciate everything they do. And I think it's a great suggestion to look for further expansion of our SMART partnership to potentially address any transportation barriers that families have.
I wasn't fully aware of the extent that you've been partnering with SMART. So this is, I mean, I've probably heard it before, but I've forgotten about it. I'd be interested at a future date, maybe discuss that partnership and how you're partnering with SMART, so we can understand the value that we're getting for the SMART bus service that we have in the county, because they're critics of the service, saying it doesn't do enough. And they certainly have demonstrated doing a lot more than many people expected they would. And this is maybe another area that we could help educate people on. Going back to the following the bid procedures, this is very important to us. And can you explain to me the need why you couldn't follow to put this out for bid per our policy? What actually happened that you couldn't prevented you from doing it? Because I mean, I don't understand why that happened that way.
Yeah, in general, as the company material talks about, we did go around and try to find eligible bidders potentially. If we had found a range of shops that were both able to procure and or retrofit the buses up to the need for our capabilities, we probably would have gone out to bid. But when we could not find enough sufficient bidders, we also had a timeliness expectation to make sure we were expending these funds within the eligible funding period. Due to the Head Start allowances through COVID, we worked with purchasing to determine whether it was appropriate or not to continue to go out to bid, which would elongate the process for procurement beyond what it already is, and if they thought that there were further eligible bidders that we had not identified. When both of those were negative, we went on the recommendation of purchasing to do a sole source bid on this. And as I said, we work with purchasing and the county internal departments to make sure we're always reviewing if it is appropriate to do a sole source or to put it out to bid.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Ernest.
Commissioner Matusik?
Just a quick comment. I mean, the purpose of these mobile classrooms is not to transport students. I think of them more as the bookmobile or the artmobile or the science mobile. So you could take a science focused curriculum, supplemental curriculum, take the mobile classroom to a place where we have a high density of students, and a variety of students could come through to have that experience of whatever, wild animals, or, you know, you go to the zoo, you touch the fur, you touch the skull, you touch that sort of stuff. So these are, in my mind, more along those lines and less about transporting, less about regular lesson plans, could be more homework help or supplemental things like books and science and art and the other things that would go with the regular classroom instruction that they're already receiving.
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
If there would be transporting, I don't see how you would use SMART unless there would be an adult responsible, because you're talking about young children. And when we had young children, some of us are older, we have to remember those children usually or often would go for just a few hours a day. But I know in some of these situations, we saw they're there for the day, but some of them would be there for part of the day, and then you can get two groups of children in for the education. Depends on how the usage is and what they need. I'm concerned about the licensing if you're going to be transporting, but you may not be doing that. I'm concerned also about the COVID situation for the use, for this money, for the use. I mean, I hate to not be able to get the buses if it's a timely thing. But I mean, COVID's shutting out. It's done. It's on. It's off. It's on. It's off. It's just like using the building. It's on. It's off. And the bid thing for me is not a problem because you had a special situation. What are you supposed to do with a special situation? Using it for other purposes? I'm just not sure. I know you have special other situations you use buses for with the food situation that you use it for. I can see you could use this, but I don't know with the COVID situation, and I don't know that that's going to go away right away. I'm not sure that. I mean, these buses are not cheap, although this might be a deal. There's a lot of factors here.
Yeah, I think, Commissioner, it's a great point. In fact, I would say because COVID will likely be ongoing for more than a year from now, these buses are desperately needed. We'd say we don't want to go into a classroom because proximity. Now, you saw that the CDC just updated the guidelines to 3 feet per student. We always go beyond that. We make sure that we're taking our concern as a top priority for the health and safety of everybody. Through these buses, we could say, let's meet at the park. Let's come out to a park and have an outdoor, socially distanced, educational, extracurricular opportunity. So I think these buses are flexible enough that, especially in the context of COVID and infrequent in-person and virtual classroom instruction, that they will provide the right flexibility for us to handle the ups and downs and fits and starts that COVID will likely bring our way over the next school year as well.
Well, I guess you have 4 or 5 months out of the year for that, for sure, with weather, except for rain and stuff. It's a challenging situation. I thought this was going to go easy, but we have a great group of people who think, they've got good brains. Do we have any more? That's what you get when you have good brain people here. Do we have any more questions? Probably not. We've got to stop talking. Are we ready for a vote here? I think we're ready for a vote.
All votes yes.
That motion passes 11-1 with Commissioner Van Sickle voting no.
Okay, we have a budget amendment. I'm still on.
So sorry, Commissioners, I did lose connection. I didn't want you to think that I had hung up.
Okay, the budget, it passed. Budget amendment B for Macomb County Action. We need to forward to full board.
I'll move by Franklin.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, do you want to speak to that, Ernest?
Yeah, absolutely. The Emergency Food and Shelter Program is the one that we regularly operate. It goes across a range of our services. One thing that you'll note if you're looking at how we spend this is usually we do split it between food and shelter. It's just as its name suggests. It's for emergency food and emergency shelter. During the past year, we've utilized our EFSP funding more for food because there has been so much money for shelter. And that's the great thing about the program is it does give us a range of flexibility to adapt to local conditions. So again, Macomb Community Action has a long-standing history of excellence. In fact, we often have the federal agencies reach out to us to ask us if we could take extra funding. Every year, for whatever reason, different reasons in different areas, there are return funds from across the state and across the country. When another region is underspent, they go to a notice of funding availability, a NOFA, and we're then allowed to bid to receive extra funding. Oftentimes, proactively, the federal agencies will reach out to those who have a long history of excellence and a history of being on budget and spending and ask us if we can use additional funding for those eligible purposes. So again, this isn't one that we inherently apply for. This is one that we were notified that there is extra funding, and they had a high degree of confidence based upon our history that Macomb Community Action could use that extra emergency food and shelter program funding in our region. So we'll just continue doing what we've been doing with emergency food through this grant.
Do we have any questions? I would assume not. So I don't see anything. We're good. I think we're ready for a vote.
All votes yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thanks for dropping by, Ernest. If you want to stay, stay. Whatever you have
Thank
to
you.
do. Okay.
Madam Chair, this
Yeah.
is Commissioner Matuzik. I would just like to encourage all of my fellow commissioners, if you have not done it, to do what you and I did, which is to have a little tour with Ernest. You get a much better sense of how all these programs are linked and coordinated and how they share resources and efficiencies. We tend to see all these as individual budget items or individual programs, but on the ground, the county is doing an amazing job of linking and supplementing and complementing all of these programs together. So if you get a chance, I would impose on Ernest to offer another tour for commissioners. It was very enlightening.
Yes, and you'd be so proud of the employees here. They're just wonderful. We are now going to go to, thank you, Commissioner Matusik, very much. We are now going to go to budget amendment, budget amendment for the Health Department General Fund with, I would assume, Director Cox.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. Good to see you. Got to see several of you throughout the week with different clinic operations, so it was great to see all of you.
Did you make a motion yet?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can we move? Thank you very much. Forward to full board.
Commissioners, I'll make the motion to forward.
Carrington, support.
Thank you. Sorry, Director. Go ahead.
No problem. Before you I'm hoping that the board will recommend approving our funding from the state through the COVID-19 immunization grant funding award. These are two separate awards that total $3,362,161. These are going to be used for staffing for the immunization program. All the staffing that goes into the staffing clinics of both Herculean and now our Southwest Majestic Plaza Center, as well as all the support that goes into COVID-19 vaccination efforts. Majority of the funding will be used for staffing and contractual services, but it can also be used for supplies in terms of refrigerator storage or cooler storage for vaccines, as well as other equipment, as long as it supports COVID-19 vaccination efforts. So I'm hoping that you all will approve and recommend approval of this funding for us. Thank you.
I don't see any speakers. Are there any questions? Any discussion? We'll go to a vote.
All votes yes.
That motion passes 12-0.
I'm going to make a motion for D, E, and F to be received together for a receive and file.
Second by Nard.
Thank you.
Well, Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
someone else needs to make that motion. You as chair can't make that motion.
Correct. Farrington will make the motion.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
To combine
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
And we have a second?
Nard, second.
Thank you. Director Cox, did you want to talk to this or not? Or do we just pass it, or what do you want to do with this? What do we do with this?
I have a question, but when I press the question button, my name's not showing up. It says withdraw request. I tried to withdraw and then press again, but I do have a question. It's Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to be leasing these over what I think is probably going to be a significant period of time, and it seems considerably pricey. What is the cost to actually purchase them outright? Because if we end up leasing again next year, which I don't know that we will, but if we don't, they could be used for other purposes. I'm sure there's all sorts of things that Executive Hackle could think of to use those types of tents for. And this is already a second round of leasing. And I just, having been in the tent, I was just wondering it makes sense to rent a tent if you're only going to use it once. But if you're going to use it ongoing, it's kind of a very cost prohibitive to rent versus buying. So I was wondering if there's been any research on that.
Yeah, Commissioner Kleinfeld, that's a great question, and it's something that we went through with testing. So for the old Juvenile Justice Center on Rose, we had tents put up for testing when testing was a need that we set up our drive-through. We had gone through a full gamut of different tents. So first we tried the traditional graduation tents, and those were just too flimsy, and they blew over every time there was a wind that was more than 5 miles an hour. So they were not suitable. So what we did was we had look at purchasing our own tents, which we did. Unfortunately, with the process of that, it's very hard to determine the quality of tents over internet sources. And with the tents we did purchase through that for testing, and they're still over there now. The quality, we've had quality issues with the tent stripping. The tent provider that we're working with now has been out several times to patch holes in the tent. The side walls have fallen. We've had issues where strong wind gusts, even with those, they are commercial grade, have tipped the tents and made them almost unstable, causing safety issues and almost falling upon cars. So with the tents from Wall, the quality is just simply a lot better than those other tents. And so we've gone down the route of purchasing our own tents. It was not a great experience and not great quality, especially when we have people in these tents for observation. I get very hesitant about using anything subpar that we could have issues with wind gusts coming in the middle of the day when we have people underneath those tents. And so it is a lot of money. And we want to make you, rest assured that we want to make sure that we're getting a good quality product and that people are safe. We can definitely look at if there's that type of quality out there that we could purchase. We had a hard time with identifying that level of tents. I'm sure that there has to be some way you can get your hands on them because Wall did. So we'll definitely take a look at that. It's a great suggestion, but just wanted to explain kind of where I feel like I'm a tent expert, and I didn't know anything about tents before COVID.
Well, I was going to say they either make them or they got them somewhere, and if they got them somewhere, there would be markings on the tents, I would think. And this is already a bypass. It's already a done deal. But I suspect we might have a long period of time having to deal with this because, yearly people get the flu shot, but everybody doesn't get the flu shot. And this might be the type of illness where they're trying to vaccinate everybody every year. Just something to consider for the future. I'd rather make the investment and have them for other purposes if you can find the quality than to continue to rent. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I don't see any other speakers, so.
Chair Brown, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman. I agree with Mr. Kleinfeld. If we could find keep an eye towards quality tents, Andrew, and if we can find one, obviously bring it to us. It won't be the last time we'll need them. There's probably no doubt about that. Have you considered reaching out to try to save money? What about to the military? We've got military at Selfridge. We got all 5 branches over there at Selfridge. Would it help if somebody of us make a call over there and see if there's something that they can provide? If there's a lot of military assets in Southeast Michigan, and maybe they've got the type of heavy duty tents that we could get for free, since we've already paid for them through other sources, right? Just you got a million suggestions over there as you guys brainstorm to try to find solutions. That's my 2 cents for that one. I don't know if you consider that or not.
That's a great suggestion, Commissioner Brown. Thank you. And I'll never turn down help or assistance, especially during a pandemic. So that's a great suggestion.
I also want to say, since you're here, that I want to thank you and the administration for reaching out to us and letting us know when these new health centers have been opened up, and inviting commissioners to attend and be supportive of what we've done, because we are partners in all of this. And I appreciate the fact that despite your busy schedule, you guys have made sure that our commissioners were aware of things going up in their communities, because it's appreciated. The public certainly appreciates it. I know from my own personal experience, people are commenting, about all the sites being opened up and how relatively it's becoming more easier to secure a vaccine and more people can get it. So kudos to you and your whole team again. And I just wanted to say that personally to you while you're here. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you.
Again, there's no... Yes.
This is Commissioner Van Sickle. I'm having the same problem that Commissioner Kleinfeld mentioned about using the button, because right now mine says withdraw request and I'm not showing up. May I speak?
Commissioners, this is Michael. Just a reminder to click on the blue details button, so that way you're always on the current item and you're looking at the current list.
Thank you. Okay, I did show up. In the past, it always just seemed to show up itself. But I did want to speak to a couple comments. First, I was at the Sterling Heights opening of the vaccination center on Wednesday. Andrew Cox did a great job of speaking and informing people at the center about what the county is doing to support the whole vaccination program and everything. Thank you, Andrew. Good job.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome. Second, I'd like to say something about renting versus buying. You have to remember that part of the cost when you rent something is the maintenance cost that we would have to incur ourselves if we own the equipment. 2, it's also the setup and rip down costs that we'd have to incur if we bought the equipment. 3, it's also the storage cost, where you go to store all the tents and everything. So if I'm all in favor of renting things. However, having said that, I do think we need to bid out the rental so that we get rental at a good price and not just overpay for the rentals. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Nard?
Hello. I just wanted to say, I wanted to thank Michael Cox for the opening that he did in Warren. It was great. He explained everything really well. And I just wanted to mirror what Commissioner Van Sickle was saying as far as renting versus buying, as far as the cost of storing it, having someone to come out and repair it. I am in favor of not having to worry about us hiring someone to repair these tents if they, should break, God forbid, or something should happen, and the safety factor in that. I just wanted to mirror that. That's all. Thank you, Chair.
Is there anyone else?
Commissioner Matuzik, but I may be out of order, so I don't know what to do here. I have a question for Director Cox, but it's not directly related to this item. Should I ask it now or wait till after we vote on this item?
You might as well get it over. You might as well get it over with.
Tangentially related.
Just go ahead. Just
all
go.
right. I was Director Cox. I was contacted by one of the constituents. Obviously, for the past year, we have been almost totally focused on COVID and testing and vaccines and immunizations. This, however, was the person who contacted me was a mom who needs to get her kids vaccinated and is on Medicaid. And Medicaid will only accept vaccinations from the health department. And it's been a year and she doesn't know what to do. She's worried about her kids. She feels like she's caught in a bureaucratic loop, and was sort of hoping I could figure out for her when regular vaccinations may start again.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I actually talked to this person today.
All right.
So we connected. We're gonna do our best to I think help her out, and so we're gonna get her taken care of. It has been one of the things, the challenges that we've struggled with here. You know, our normal programmatic activities have definitely took a hit and suffered because all the staff that have been used to support, you know, the COVID-19 response, you know, those are all people, their day jobs are not getting done, you know, and so we've done the best we can to really have our programs and prioritize our essential services, which immunizations are. And we were able to do that for a time, but with cases rising, with contact tracing, testing, and vaccinations going on, we had to make some tough choices. And so for the month of April, we do not have any appointments for immunizations, for children immunizations. However, you know, most individuals have other ways to get their vaccinations. But
I was quite shocked, to learn that if you're receiving Medicaid, you have to get vaccinations from the county, and that strikes me as a real catch-22 in this situation.
I think this is her provider. It's a special circumstance, which we're going to take care of her. I think her pediatrician does not service Medicaid clients, so we're looking at taking care of her and getting her child. We did connect, so I want to let you know that we had a good conversation.
All right, you're the best. Thank you.
I think we're going to take a vote now.
All votes yes.
That motion passes 12-0.
Oh, shoot.
Somebody's unmuted.
That's me. I'm sorry.
Just a heads up.
That motion did pass unanimously.
All right, I believe now we're going to correspondence. City of Mount Clemens State of Emergency Declaration, March 30th, 2021. Need a motion to receive and file.
Motion to receive from NARD.
Sabatini support.
Thank you. We should vote.
That motion passes unanimously.
We are now into new business. Somebody like to bring something up? Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Thank you, Chair. I actually have quite a few things to bring up. The first is, especially for the newer commissioners, Our MAC conference is going to be virtual April 28th and 29th. It might be a good idea to take a look at some of the breakout sessions and some of the speakers and see if you have any interest there, and possibly consider registering for that. I do have a conflict on the 29th. We have full board and MAC has full board, and I chair that meeting. I'm not going to be able to be at our full board April 29th. And so I think that might be the one where we're doing the recognition, and I'll talk to Courtney about how to deal with that situation. Very quickly, you will be getting a cleaned up version, probably a really messy version and a cleaned up version of all the work we did on bylaws. If you go through and you see there's a lot of repetitiveness or there's conflicts, we are not trying to finish it before we give it to you. We made a bunch of changes. We may have created conflicts. We spent a lot of hours. So you're going to be getting those, and we'll probably discuss it briefly at Government Ops. You are free to go through, like or dislike anything we were looking at doing, as well as anything that you come up with. We want everybody to have input at that time. We also are going to take the clean copy, go through it again and get rid of the repetition and maybe try to clean up the format a little bit. But what we did was almost a rewrite in some circumstances. So I just wanted you guys to know that's coming very shortly. We haven't had a discussion about the chief of staff position. It's different than any other position. There's a lot of interaction with all of the county commissioners, and I would like to see maybe a committee of a few Democrats and Republicans put together to possibly go through the hiring process rather than it just being one or two individuals. I think that position should be voted on. Oakland County had to vote on that position. It's a unique position, and I think we should consider that that's something that we should be doing with respect to that position. Also, we are meeting virtually today because of what Mount Clemens did, not because of what our county did. I'm concerned about a couple of things. Knowing that staff members have not been able to get vaccinated, and I will tell you, I have been on the site every day for 5 days. I've checked every site that they announced were opening up through the county, and I haven't been able to get an appointment for my son, and every single one of them has been booked. I'm not sure why we're promoting these so heavily, and every single location is booked, and I check about 3 times a day. But if our staff can't get in and can't get vaccinated, when we aren't having meetings there, I don't think that they should have to be working in the office if they can do their work from home. So I'm just bringing that to everybody's attention. There may be staff members. Well, I know for a fact, I know somebody, a family member of one of our staff members that has a respiratory issue, and I just think that we shouldn't put them in that position. Getting back to the county not doing this, we brought it up a couple of weeks ago, and several of us expressed the desire to meet virtually, and nothing happened. And when we were getting ready to come in for this meeting, I had reached a point where I was going to ask to do a resolution to the county exec on this issue because there really wasn't any discussion and nothing happened. And we got that attorney opinion, and the attorney opinion just sort of put a wet towel on everything. And I asked to have the attorney opinion waived so that we could discuss it. That didn't happen. So I'm not going to discuss what the attorney opinion says, but I will say this. MAC did a survey. 37 out of the 50 counties that responded have declared emergencies. Countless cities and townships across the state have declared an emergency. I think that settles the dispute that I felt I indicated to you that I had with regard to what was being said, what is being said to us legally, and what other people, how other people are reading it. And I will tell you, it's not an easy issue. There is a conflict between what the Open Meetings Act says and the Emergency Management Act says. But I think these across the state counties are reading it a certain way. I still think we should not rely on Mount Clemens to decide whether or not we're going to meet via Zoom or in person, and when we're going to meet via Zoom and in person. And so if it takes putting it on the agenda to do a resolution, I would support that. I would like to lay out, I would like to find out how many counties since then have also joined on, because I know that Wayne County did after that. That survey was done last week. It seems to be the norm, especially in this spiking, and we seem to not be in the norm with respect to this. And I just, I feel like we brought it up under new business and brought it up under new business, but we never addressed it or put it on the agenda and got to have a conversation as commissioners. And perhaps that's something that we ought to do. So I don't know where that goes, but I'm requesting it show up somewhere so that we can have the conversation. So that's it. I know I said a mouthful, but with respect to Patty's position, we don't conduct business under new business. That became very clear with this whole COVID thing, because a majority of those that spoke wanted to meet virtually. I don't know if anybody else would like to have that on an agenda and have a discussion about it, but or if the chair would be open to it and we wouldn't have to do that. So I wanted to know what people's opinions were on that. That's it. I said a mouthful. Thank you.
Commissioner Matusek?
I want to second a number of things that Veronica said. Michigan has the fastest growth rate of new infections. Our school districts are a mess, and some are closing. Our rates are really going up. And just a few weeks ago, we were lauding the fact that our staff was not getting in line to get vaccines, even though they probably could have, but they were saving spaces for seniors. And I don't want to be responsible for our staff having to come to a meeting with a lot of folks. I think that's just not good for us as employers. It's not good for us as human beings. Our staff members, our job is to protect our staff members and to protect not just our staff members, but the other staff members in this county, the other people who work in this county who come before us. Today, we had a number of people come before us. I don't know their vaccine status. I'm not going to ask their vaccine status. But I think meeting virtually for another month or two is a wise decision until more people have an opportunity to get vaccinated. I really like the idea of picking a chief of staff with some input from a group of commissioners. I think that person is really critical to all of us, and making sure we're getting unbiased and helpful information. That's really critical, I think, to our decision making. So I would really hope that we do whatever procedures we need to do to actually have a discussion and make a decision about those two things. I do think we are well within our ability to declare an emergency so we can continue to meet virtually and not have to rely on the city of Mount Clemens. I love the city of Mount Clemens, but it's not their job to take care of us. And I do think that replacing our chief of staff is a function for the larger board. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say?
Madam Chair, so the commissioners know, the staff is not here every day. And I've made it clear to them that they feel uncomfortable in being in the building for any reason. We encourage them to stay at home, as is the protocol. Staff has been in the office to prepare the boardroom and other things to accommodate us. We're following the state rules. State rules say we shall meet in person after, as of today, is April 1st. The governor's made that clear previously, and now she's left it up to the local communities to do what they think is in their own best interest. Largely, I think, so they could operate in these meetings for Zoom, because many communities can't have the ability to accommodate the public at their meetings. I think having continuing Zoom meetings is certainly not any burden to us. We can certainly continue to do that, and that's something that we as a board can decide to do if we want to continue. I mean, for the next 7 days, we have no choice, as long as we're under the city of Mount Clemens' order. Beyond that, we'll have to stay tuned, and we'll have to see, what we decide to do after that. So, regarding the chief of staff position, that chief of staff position had long been a position of appointed by the chairman of the board, and brought to the commissioners. There's as the chairman of the board, the chief of staff serves us all, and as the chairman of the board, my job is to make sure that all of you get the service and support you need. So that position is certainly done with an eye towards saving all of us, and not any one particular person exclusively. So I'm reviewing that position now, and we'll be making a selection. That position will go out, be posted soon, fairly soon, and we'll do so with the eye towards serving all of us, because having a competent chief of staff as the head of the department, as selected by all of you, it's a responsibility I take very seriously, and so it's all done with an eye towards servicing all of you commissioners. So we'll stand by for that. So thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Chairman Brown, can I just ask a question? If we
Sure.
are, as you said, going to make a decision about meeting virtually or not virtually, how are we doing that? What is the procedure for that?
Well, we'll have a meeting, and we'll probably have a meeting included in a future agenda item, or perhaps even call a special meeting. Our county is a little bit different than some rural county that can just simply call an emergency because they don't have, they're a smaller county in size. If we're to do something like that, it's a little bit more complicated. It affects not only us, but the executive's office and how we manage the affairs of the county going on many levels. So that has to all be thought through, and see where we go. I've initiated a discussion preliminarily and with some people on that subject, and so this is going to be an issue going forward, and we all need to discuss it and see how we wish to proceed. Because I don't want to bring anybody in to this board office that feels uncomfortable because of health concerns, and certainly, so we'll see where we go. I'm happy,
So what?
Yeah, I'm really not expected at what's happened. I mean, I half expected the governor to issue some edict that she's done previously, shutting down the state because the COVID cases were so high. In fact, they were actually less, and she extended orders. And now that they're high, and she's been silent from Lansing. So, we got to see where this falls. But if it continues to be left to the locals, then we've got to consider what's best for all of us. Because I certainly don't want to make any of you uncomfortable or think that you have to be endangered by forcing you to come to this meeting, or certainly our staff. So I share all of your concerns regarding how we proceed. So thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and we'll be in contact with all of us in the days ahead. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman?
Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, just to add to that, this might alleviate some of the people's concern, is under the current ruling by the state, the exceptions are there for military as well as health, and health is not defined other than by the person accepting that as their exemption. So if anyone on the board feels they do not have to attend due to health reasons, they don't have to give the exact reasons. They can just say health reasons and attend virtually. So maybe that helps.
Thank you very much. That's a very pertinent statement. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. And to Chair Brown's point, if I'm remembering properly, we don't have the ability to declare an emergency. I believe that has to be declared by the executive. So, and also, Macomb County is one of the few counties that have our particular form of government. And declaring an emergency has ramifications in Macomb County that it does not have in other counties. So the executive may be apprehensive about declaring an emergency because of the far-flung consequences that it has, if he did choose to do so. So we need to work through Hackle. On the second topic in this discussion, about a new chief of staff, I would support, not taking anything away from Chair Brown, but I would support the other members of the board as having some input. But I would also suggest, because it's a personnel issue, that we would have to do so in closed session, because I don't believe it's appropriate to discuss any personnel issues at all in open session. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you. I want to clarify a few things. It isn't the kind of personnel issue that allows for a closed session. Any discussion on whether or not we hire as a group or the chair hires would have to be done in open session. The actual interviews, if the entire body met, would have to be done in open session. Even any negotiation of pay, which we don't necessarily need to do, we may just go with what we've already got. All of that has to be done in open session. I've done it many times. It's not a real comfortable thing to do, but it is a requirement. You are not allowed to negotiate with a non-union individual in closed session. So I just want to clarify that. Also, the statement that that we put the chair in the seat to make this decision, that is nowhere in the bylaws. That is a throwback from when there wasn't a county executive and the chair was basically the administrator in the county. There was never anything put in writing that clarified that in that detail the duties and responsibilities of the chair. And we have not had a changeover in a chief of staff since we got a county executive. So this has never surfaced before. Nobody has ever raised an issue as to whether or not the chair could hire the rest of the staff. Even though it is also not put in the bylaws or stated anywhere that the chair has that authority, I think we're all fine with that decision. But this is a unique situation that has not happened since we went to a county exec form of government. And I said if we should put it on the agenda to have a discussion, I'm fine with doing that, because I don't believe it's any one particular individual's job right to tell everybody else exactly what the role of the chair is. That includes me. It includes Chair Brown, and it includes everybody else on here. I don't think any one individual makes that decision. With respect to Mount Clemens, we are not required to meet via Zoom because of Mount Clemens emergency order. We are using it to meet via Zoom. Their emergency order does not prohibit us from meeting. If you read the emergency order, it's very specific to city commissions, but we're using it to meet via Zoom. I absolutely agree that the county executive would have to be involved. It would have to be willing to do it. That's why I discussed making a resolution. But I will make the argument that this type of declaration of an emergency, as the way other counties are reading it, is different than every other declaration of emergency. And the reason I say that is they didn't put it in the Emergency Management Act. They put it in the Open Meetings Act. These counties are declaring emergency specifically for the purpose of their public bodies being able to meet via Zoom because it's in the Open Meetings Act and it has a sunset clause. It starts today and it ends in December. That was specific to the pandemic and to public bodies. And if we're talking about the size of the county, my understanding, I thought, was Wayne County just did one. So I don't, this isn't a rural county versus, and I might be in the minority on my thinking on this, and maybe the majority of the board doesn't want to send a resolution to Executive Hackle imploring him. Completely understandable. I just want to make it clear, this is in the Open Meetings Act in every county. I talk to Mac on a daily basis on this. The way counties are reading this is it's specific to the public bodies. So that's my clarification. Thank you.
May I ask Commissioner Kleinfeld a question?
Sure.
Commissioner, do you feel that you brought up a point that triggered something while you were speaking? Is the staff in the BOC office employees of the boards of commissioners, or are they general county employees falling under the general administration? So it would actually be Executive Hackle's purview to hire this.
No, our department interviews and hires every single member. Usually Patty, being the person who runs the department, would be heavily involved in the hiring process along with the chair for employees below that position. But and Patty's an at-will employee of the board. This is solely on our side. The county executive doesn't put input into who we hire in our office.
Yeah, I didn't want to go down too far down the road and then find out, get the rug pulled out from under us, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Thank you for the explanation.
Who's next?
Apparently it's my day today. Sorry.
Well, Antoinette was raising her hand. I know she hasn't spoken yet. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry. I did not see her hand. I did not see her name. Whatever the rest of that, whatever thing would be. And Commissioner Wallace, please go ahead.
I was just going to say that I agree with what Commissioner Kleinfeld was saying, and as far as meeting, I know before Chair Brown, you said you were going to speak with Executive Hackle. Did he say anything about leaning towards one way or another, or a feeling one way or another?
If I may, Madam Chairwoman. Well, there's a changing demographic. He was inclined less so. That was the last time I spoke with him. So I'm not sure what the current position is, given this has been a very fluid situation with the numbers continuing to spike. And again, we were all kind of figuring the governor would issue another mandate like she's done previously, but it hasn't happened. So maybe she knows something that we don't know about what's going to happen in the future. But right now it's going up. So
yeah, it's definitely going up. And I know Mayor Krapp did, she was very specific. She went, after she declared this state of emergency, she went on live to explain to the city exactly what was going on with the state of emergency. And it was exactly how Commissioner Kleinfeld stated, specifically for our commissioners, city commissioners, to meet via Zoom. She was very specific, and I'm glad that we are able to, use that so that we can meet via Zoom as well, because I do feel like that's the best thing right now. But I just wanted to, very simply state that, I agree with Commissioner Kleinfeld on that. So thank you.
Commissioner Matuzik.
Two quick points. My concern about in-person meetings for us is not the staff coming to work in the offices. It's the staff coming before us and the other department staff in what is a fairly small room. And so I'm concerned, that is my concern, that staff coming to board meetings. But my second question is, and this relates to a question I asked a few meetings ago, do we have a lobbyist? I was told that we do. And if we do, is that person working in particularly the Senate, where there are bills that exist to allow virtual meetings throughout the rest of the year? That certainly would be an appropriate thing for our lobbyists to lobby on. But I've never gotten
Madam Chair, the answer to the question is yes. We do have a lobbyist in Lansing, GCSI, and in fact, he's going to be coming to a meeting in April. So you can address those and other questions to him when he comes at that time.
Chair, may I
He'll be coming via Zoom as well.
Well, may I clarify, Chair? Our lobbyist does not work for the Board of Commissioners. It works for the Board of Commissioners and the county executive. If the county executive is not inclined, we would not be having a lobbyist lobby on our behalf with respect to this issue.
That's your opinion. We're working jointly with the executive on these issues.
Exactly.
We're a team.
Exactly. We work jointly. If we have a disagreement with each other, our lobbyist is not in a position to lobby against one of us. That's exactly what I just said, Chair Brown. If we are in a disagreement with Executive Hackle on an issue, our lobbyist cannot lobby for us, and he cannot lobby for him against us. That's what I said. So there is no disagreement about that. And right now, the county executive well, I was just hoping to do a resolution and ask him. And if he says no, he says no. That's the end of the story. But with respect to the lobbyists, thank you for bringing up Commissioner Matuzak, because we really should have our own. Thank you.
Well, and the fact is, this bill is before the Senate now. Now is when they need to lobby, not in April.
Well, we're available. I'll share with you the information. You can all call him. He's available to all of you, and I'll share with you the information for the lobbyist. You can all call him individually if you'd like. He's available to all of us. He's a tool that we have in our toolbox should you choose to use him. So, so I hear you. Thank you, Commissioner Matuzak.
Thank you. Commissioner Matuzak, you're still on, which might cause a problem with our communication. You're not muted. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. I think I agree where maybe the lobbyist is for us when we need them, but I always have a problem when there's two sets of power and one is always going to have more power than another one. I don't necessarily consider them for me if someone else is going to have more power. So I'm always concerned about that. I have to say, I have no problem meeting in the building in public. I just don't. They've got these shields and things up. I know some people do. I understand that. Being a nurse, I understand that people have concerns. I don't have any problem with somebody staying home. I'd be curious how many want to meet in public, but I'm not asking anybody. I don't want to even know. But this COVID thing, like most people say, I don't think it's going away. It's going to be something we have to adjust to. I mean, do you go to the grocery store? I mean, it's just the way it is. And when I've popped in for different things into the office, there's only one person there. Yesterday I needed something. Two people were far apart. And I mean, we've all adjusted our lives, and some more than others, I guess. Also with Chairman Brown, I guess so. It's been years since the chairman or the executive or somebody's chosen someone. My thought, yes, it'd be nice to have several people make a choice together, but the more people you have, the more confusing it can get. So I'm either way on that. But sometimes one person is the one who chooses, and then that's the person who's responsible. And I don't know where we are with our lawyer. I've asked about that a couple times. I'd like to get an answer on that. You can do it privately. I don't know what else we had to discuss. And if there's somebody else, we will go with that. Other than that, I think we might be close to done. If anyone has anything else. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Well, first, I just want to thank Patty for her service, and that I really enjoyed working with her in the little time that I've been commissioner. We're going to miss you, and congratulations on your new role. It's going to be very difficult to find someone who is as organized and as kind as you. So thank you for that. Now I want to say, Commissioner Kleinfeld, you are not in the minority. And I respect those who are not uncomfortable coming in person as much as I want to be in person and to be interacting with you guys in person. Because I'm very sick of doing this virtual meeting 9 to 5. But I respect everyone's concerns and their health concerns. Chair Brown, I think it's misleading for you to continue to blame the governor for not extending the Open Meetings Act amendment, because she does not have the power or authority to do that. There were several bills that were in the Republican-controlled state legislature, but it went nowhere. So I want to thank the mayor of Mount Clemens for stating the local state of emergency order so that we could continue to meet safely and to respect everyone's concerns. But I think that the county executive should have taken the leadership role in stating that local emergency order instead of the mayor of Mount Clemens. And if you have any communication with him, I think you probably know more about his views on this issue, because we've known that March 31st was going to come. So it's not like something that's new. But I do agree with you that I think that, we should all be able to reach out to him and to ask him as well. So I would nominate Commissioner Kleinfeld to do that. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Song. Also, I was frustrated yesterday because Patty and our staff, they are so incredible and they work so hard. And to be down to the minute, even through today, I thought was reprehensible. I just think leadership should make a decision, and they just do so much for us. And the board, all of you, you know how I just adore you all, and that the board members should know what's happening and be ready one way or the other. And the board should be treated with respect. The staff absolutely should be treated with respect. And I just feel it wasn't done, and it just should not happen that way. The decisions should be made, and it just should have been done. It should have been handled in a timely manner. And we're really going to miss Patty. I know everybody's going to miss Patty. She's been just a godsend for us. And but the other staff members are wonderful also. And we've all learned, and we've come a long way. The new people and the I want to say the older people, because I'm older, but have been so generous and great to us. And I look forward to the rest of the 2 years here with everybody. And I hope everyone has a blessed and wonderful weekend. And who else has anything else to say? And
Madam Chair, we have public participation still.
I didn't hear what you said. Does somebody want to talk?
Madam Chair, I was just saying we still have public participation.
So we're good to go to the next step? All right. Is there anybody in public participation, Andrea? Do we know?
Chair, we do not have anybody in the chat box. If anybody is on the phone wishing to speak, you can go ahead and press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Any member of the public wishing to speak, you have 5 minutes to speak. Any member in the public, please feel free to speak. Any member of the public, we look forward to speaking with you. I think we will now go to a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I had to say goodbye to all your lovely faces, but I think the meeting is adjourned. Look for those Easter eggs and have a lovely weekend. Goodbye.
All right, but we all got to vote.
We got to vote. Then we're gone.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Chair.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend. Take care. See you all soon. We'll be in touch on all these other important issues. Stand by.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Veronica.